Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for the GMAT. We have been solving GMAT math problems out of this book here, GMAT Review, the official guide, the 13th edition. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problem that we are about to solve is the one that you will find on page number 168. Please turn to it, page 168, problem number 119. Problem number 119, the penultimate problem, the second to the last problem on the page. It says that we had planned to read 90 pages per day for n days. This is something we are making up for n days, let's say. We are further told that, but it turned out that we read only 75 pages per day for the first few days. Then we are told that we read another 690 pages in the last 6 days. The question simply is, what is n? What was the total number of days that were assigned, that were given to us for the assignment? Number 119. In order to complete a reading assignment on time, Terry planned to read 90 pages per day. She planned to read 90 pages per day for a given number of days, which we're calling n days, even though the book does not actually say it like that. However, she read only 75 pages for the first 75 pages per day at first. So she read only 75 pages per day at first for the first few days. Then they go on to tell us that leaving her 690 pages to read during the last 6 days before the assignment was due, before the assignment was to be completed. How many days does she have to complete the assignment? There you go. So let's get going then, okay? So we are saying here that she had planned to read 90 pages for a total number of n days. This tells us that the total number of pages, let's do it here, this part here tells us the total number of pages to be read must have been 90 pages per day is what we had planned to read for a total of n days. So we must have had 90 times n pages, 90 times n pages for reading assignment. It turns out that for the first few days, we read only 75 pages. Let's call these first few days F. F for the few days. Which means for the first few days, we read only 75 pages per day times the first few days. We are told that the remaining 690 were read during the last 6 days, which means 690, the remaining pages has to equal the total minus what we read during the first few days. Which makes sense. The remaining pages we are told is 690. That 690 has to equal the total number of pages that were assigned for us to read, which is 90 times n, minus what we read the first few days, which was 75 times f. That's our first equation. Our second equation comes from the fact that we had n number of days. Total days was n number. Total days are n, and that has to equal the first few days plus the last 6 days. So the total number of days has to equal the total number n plus the first few days, what we're calling f for the first few days right here, plus the work that was done in the last 6 days. There are your two equations. That's all we needed. We needed two independent equations to take care of the fact that we are dealing with two unknowns, f and the n's. Once we have the two equations, solving for the two unknown is a cinch. It's just a matter of doing it out. But setting up the problem is the biggest part of a word problem. In the word problem, knowing how to set up the problem systematically and efficiently and correctly, most of all, is the most important part, obviously. If you're one of those people who are not very, who is not very strong in algebra, if you're not very good at algebra, especially algebra word problem, I have something at my channel that you might, it's up to you to decide whether it's helpful to you or not, but you might find it helpful. There are 100 algebra word problem at my channel. You will find it there. There are also 100 elementary algebra problem. So if you're very weak in algebra, and if you want to learn algebra from scratch, then start with day 1, go all the way up to day 100, which will cover the elementary concept of algebra. Or if you simply want to start with the word problems, from day 101 through day 200, you will find algebra word problems. They start out very simple and they progressively become more and more difficult. But anyway, this is how you set it up. So that's all it is. We just have to solve it. It's just a matter of doing it. Since they're asking how many days, how many total number of days there are, we're looking for n, not f. So we're not going to waste our time looking for f. N equals this. So this tells us n equals the total number of days equals f plus 6, which is same as saying that f equals n minus 6. The first few days we'll be talking about must equal the total number of days minus the last 6 days, right here, the last 6 days. Let's substitute this equation in this one here. So we have 690 equals 90 times n minus 75 times f. But f we know equals n minus 6. N minus 6, and we just have to solve for n. There's nothing to it. So 90n minus 75n, and negative times negative is going to become positive, and then we're going to have 75 times 6. How much is 75 times 6? The hell do I know? I know 100 times 6 is 600. That I know. 100 times 6 is 600. And if you take away 625s, that's 150. If you have 6 quarters, that's $1.50. So 600 minus 150 is 450. 90n minus 75n, that's 15n. And here, if you bring the 450 here, you'll end up with 690 minus 450. 90 minus 50 is 40, and 600 minus 400 is 200. So it's 240. 15n equals 240. We just have to divide both sides by 15. Where can I do it, right? Let's do it here. 240 divided by 15. Let's divide top and bottom by 3, bottom by 5. Let's divide by 5, so we get 3 here. How many 5s in 24? 24 has 4 5s are 20. The remaining 4 goes and joins this guy, becomes 40. In other words, we're trying to figure out the 5s in 200. There are 45 in 200, and then 8 5s in 40. Let's divide top and bottom by 3 one more time. How many 3s in a 4? 4 has 1 3. The remaining one goes and joins this guy, becomes 18. How many 3s in 18? 18 has 6 3s. There you go. So that tells us, this implies that n equals 16. There you go, that's our answer. N equals 16. And that's all there is. As simple as that. Simple as that. Alright then, let's do the next one, shall we? Before we do the next problem, would you like to verify this thing? I want to verify it very quickly. It only takes a few seconds, and sometimes it's worth paying those few extra seconds in premium to buy the insurance for the peace of mind that we have done the right work. Let's verify it. Let's do it here. So what we are claiming is that total number of days that we had to read the assignment was 16. Well, we know that we have read and we had altogether n days. Oh, the total number of days we had was 16, and the problem tells us that the person had planned to read 90 pages per day. That was the grand plan. Sometimes the grand plan don't work out the way we actually lay them out. It says Terry had planned to read 90 pages per day. So 90 times 16, 90 times 16, 16 times 0 is 0, and then 16 times 9, 16 times 10, 16 times 10 is 160, 160 minus 16 would be 150, 150 and another 6, 144 I believe. Let's do it out the other way around. Let's do 16 times 90. 9 6 are 54. 9 6 are 54. Carry 5. And then 9 plus 144. I was correct. So it looks like the number of pages that we had to read was 1,440, of which we are told that we have read 75 pages in the first few days. Now the first few days, because we are claiming that the n is 16, and we are told that in the last 6 days we read the remaining pages, which means the first few days must have been 10. The first few days must be 10, and we read 75 pages there. So we read 750 in the first few days. 750, if you subtract 750 from here, 9, 14, 13 minus 9, 13 minus 7 is 6. There you go. It works. Leaving us with a grand total of 690 pages to read during the last 6 days. So we end up reading 690 pages in the last 6 days, which is of course well over 100 pages per day. And the reason we have to read well over 100 pages per day is because we did not keep up with our schedule. Our schedule was to read 90 pages per day. We only read 75 pages the first 10 days. If you read only 75 pages the first 10 days, you only read 750. You have to read a total of 1450 or 1440. 1440 minus 750 leaves you a grand total of 690 pages to read during the last 6 days. It works, it fits. Let's do the next problem, shall we? Enough of this thing. Let's do the next problem. The next problem that we have is a very straightforward, very simple problem. I do not know why it's in the book. This is 120, problem number 120. That tells us that square root of r over s equals s. And the question simply is, how much is s? Oh, sorry, what is r? What is r? Let's square both sides. If you square both sides, we end up r over s equals s squared. Multiply both sides by s, and we end up this s cancels and r equals s cubed. Voila, that's your answer. And that's called 100. That's the so-called question number 120. The answer is D. So as I've said many times before, in this book we go from sublime to ridiculous in just one problem. One problem they give you is very challenging. It makes you think, exercises the gray matter, and then you get to the very next problem where it's just trivial. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, we're done with this page. We'll begin with page number 169 tomorrow. Okay, bye now.